Good morning. Today is Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. There are a pair of narratives, two in a row, where there is something very important we do not see. In last week's Torah portion, Baloska, at the end of the Parsha, we learned about Miriam speaking Lashon Hara, speaking negatively about her younger brother, her baby brother, Moshe. This week, the Meraglim, the spies, and on the basis of their negative report, the Jewish people, reject the entire message of Moshe's leadership, as we discussed, that God promised that the Jewish people would inherit and dwell in the land of Israel. Everything that Moshe worked for, they were rejecting. And not only that, but they held Moshe personally accountable. Vayilonu al Moshe val Aaron, kol bnei Israel. The entire Jewish people started complaining about Moshe and Aaron. Vayomra alehem kol ha'eda. And the entire people, everybody said to them, Lumasnu beretz Mitzrayim. It would have been better for us if we just would have died in Egypt. O bamidbar hazel lumasnu. It'd be better if we would just die here in the desert, rather than have to now go to this land that we're not going to be able to take, they said, based on the erroneous report of the Meraglim. Halo tov lanu lashuv Mitzrayim. It would be better for us now to just go back to Egypt. Just forget about this whole thing. Can you imagine, all the effort Moshe put in to getting them to this point? And they say, it'd be better if the whole thing never happened. Just all of Sefer Shemos and Vayikra and Bamidbar and Dvarim, just let it not happen. We'll take Bereshis. Okay. Both of these narratives are devastating to Moshe personally. And in both of these narratives, we do not see Moshe getting angry. Although for both of these, Moshe had every right to be angry. Miriam, his sister, who saved his life as a baby, who was his closest advisor and supporter throughout their entire lives. We discussed this last week. For Miriam to speak negatively about her brother, how could it be? And the Meraglim, again, they rejected Moshe's most fundamental, not only most fundamental effort that he was putting forth as the leader of Jewish people, but they rejected his entire raison d'etre. Basically, they were saying, there's no need for you, Moshe. We would have been better off if you'd never been born. To Miriam, Moshe is silent. He does not say a word, except when she becomes ill. Moshe prays for her to get better. To the Meraglim, the only words that Moshe speaks when the Meraglim come back with their evil report and the bulk of the Jewish people become hysterical and God becomes very, very angry. Up until this point, Moshe has not said a word. The first words that Moshe says, V'ata yigdal na koach Hashem. Now, Hashem, you should show, please, the greatness of your strength. You are slow to anger. You have abundant kindness. Slachna lavon hamazeh kegodel chastecha. Forgive the people for this sin, according to the greatness of your compassion. V'chasher nasasa lamazeh mimitzrayim vadhena. And just as you have shown mercy and given another chance and another chance to this people from the time we left Egypt. Do it again. And V'yomer Hashem salachti kidvarecha, Hashem says, I will forgive the Jewish people as you have asked. Of course, we quote this on Yom Kippur. But those are the only words that Moshe says. And what's missing in both of those narratives is there is no anger. Because even when you're right, anger is not helpful. It's not helpful to the situation. And it's not helpful to the one who becomes angry. And our sages specifically teach us, that we should learn this from Moshe in these passages. So I want to share with you a story. I heard this story from Rabbi Biderman. There was a young man. He was a chassan. He was engaged to be married. And he lived in Beit Shemesh in Israel. And so, like many young men do in that situation, he traveled to America to raise funds for his wedding and to collect tzedakah, to go and to ask people for tzedakah, for charity, in order to be able to pay for his wedding. So, he hired, which is the normal procedure, he hired a driver, and he paid the driver a percentage of whatever he collects. And the percentage that he pays is a high percentage, because the value of the driver is not just to drive. The driving is secondary. I mean, you could take an Uber. The primary value of the driver is the list of addresses, and it is in the driver's best interest to have a good list, because the driver is getting a percentage. So the driver tells him, here's a good place to go, and this is a generous place. Don't go there, you'll be wasting your time. So that's why the driver gets a very significant portion of the proceeds, because it all depends on the list that the driver has. So the driver takes this young man to the home of a wealthy person, a Jewish person, and says, here, this is a good place to go and ask for money. The young man knocks on the door. This wealthy man opens the door, and as soon as he hears the story, he starts yelling at him, what are you doing here? Why are you asking me for money for your own wedding? Go get a job. You're a parasite. And he's yelling, and he's cursing, and he's screaming. Now, I have to interject here my own opinion, and that is, I am not in favor of this system where people travel from Israel to America and other places, Canada, and knock on doors to ask for tzedakah for expenses in their life. And I'm not in favor of it for several reasons. And also, I am not so enamored of these drivers, also for several reasons. But also, no matter how much I'm not in favor of that, if someone comes to your door and you open the door, you shouldn't yell at them. And you should not insult them because you don't like what they're doing or how they're doing it. Okay, that's just my opinion. That's in a parentheses, but I'm just telling you the story as Rabbi Biderman tells the story. So this wealthy man is screaming and yelling and cursing, and the young man is silent, doesn't say a word, doesn't respond. And the man said, go back to Israel, get a job, don't be a leech on society. And the young man is standing, doesn't respond, he's silent, he just listens. And after several minutes of this tirade, the wealthy man gives this young man $300. At that point, this wealthy man asks this young man a question. Tell me, where did you get the strength, the self-control to stay silent? I insulted you, I cursed you, I humiliated you. How did you manage to stay quiet through all that? So the young man laughed, and he showed the wealthy man the list of names and addresses that he received from the driver. And for each address, written next to the name and the address, is also written how much to expect that the person should give. Because that's part of what the drivers know. And he showed this wealthy man his address on the paper, and the paper says the name of the man and his address, and it has a note next to his name. And the note says he gets angry and screams, he shouts and yells, and then he gives $300. So the wealthy man understands why this young man was quiet, because he knew what was going to happen. Now, of course, this only works because the young man believes the accuracy of the list that's given to him by the driver. He trusts the driver. But what if the trust this young man has for his driver, we could have for our great sages who teach us, if someone yells at you, if someone insults you, and you remain silent, you will receive unlimited reward and benefit. Because that is the lesson that our sages teach, that we're supposed to learn from Moshe. We should try to believe our drivers. We should try to believe our chachamim and our teachers who teach us this lesson. And we should believe our sages who teach this lesson not to respond with anger, even when someone shows us anger for no reason. We should trust our sages at least as much as this young man believes his driver. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.